All right, everybody, here we go. Welcome back to Stocks by the Numbers. And of course, one of our favorite stocks is trending today. We got some news coming out. Stocks down 5%. We're talking about SoundHound AI Incorporated, symbol SOUN, listed here on the NASDAQ. Bring you up to speed real quick. This is a voice AI software company that has been basically teaming up with a handful of companies across the board, across multiple sectors. Recently had the Amelia acquisition. Now we entered into the healthcare sector. We have NVIDIA as an investor. We recently did another collaboration for police vehicles and emergency vehicles we'll get to in a second. The company announced roughly a $250 million offering at the market. And that's why the stock is taking a hit today with the mixed shelf up to 500 million. So we could potentially see another $250 million at the market offering somewhere down the road, because technically this company still is operating at a loss. However, we're basically following the hype of the growth of the company, the demand for their software, the collaborations, the contracts consistently being signed, and of course, the revenue starting to pick up, beating estimates more times than not. And if we quickly check the forecasts, yeah, if we come down here, we can see this next quarter coming up, we're looking for almost 34 million in revenue. Then after that, you can see we start to continue upward and onward even more. 34 to third million, over 37.5 million, over 42 million for Q3 of 25. So we are still expecting more deals, more collaborations to come through, which obviously is, in theory, going to generate more revenue, right? But stock right now, 13.38, down about 70 cents, roughly 5% on this news. And you can see it dropped right to that support trend line that I was telling you about, saying back here that if we drop down, we can see maybe like $11.70, $12. But you can see we had a nice bounce off the fib, rejected off the 20-day. We got the bad news out of China yesterday with the AI, shook up all the tech. And then, of course, we have the offering today, which dropped the stock down. And you can see we went below that trend line down to 12.71, and the stock bounced. It's sitting right at that trend line. If I pull up a daily chart, you can see, look, straight breakthrough and then reclaimed, right? Got back above, rejected, chilled below it, got back above, rejected, got back above. So it seems like it wants to hang out here at this trend line. However, we did seriously break up and out of this triangle like we spoke about. So looking at some other trend lines on this dilution news, we could technically pull back to around these trend lines down here, which could be like the high sevens, potentially around $8 a share. So I just want you to understand the risks involved if you want to step in here. However, again, we don't know exactly how it's going to react from this support trend line. So over the next day or two, we can hang out here and then potentially bounce back to the moving average, or we can hang out and then begin to break on the news and drop down to this fib and maybe start to pull back into the 11s, right? But you can see this was a key level here before we jumped up. Looks like right about that $10 a share psychological level, which was the original level that they wanted to get the stock back to, if you recall, and then it was the breakout up to 16. So a pullback, believe it or not, to 10 might actually be justified, and it may come sooner rather than later. But overall, you guys know how I feel about SoundHound, and we last looked at the stock, it was about 6 weeks ago, so I just want to quickly go over a lot of the news that came out on the stock over the last month and a half. But in the numbers, market cap sitting at about 5 billion. Again, that's a joke. We had I always mention stocks like ASTS, took it up to 7-8 billion with no revenue coming in. So at least this company, they're in the AI sector. We have NVIDIA as a backer. We have consistent collabs and partnerships being signed. So that's why I always say if something like that is worth 7-8 billion, this company easily, 10-12 billion, no problem. And that's kind of where the market cap was. You can see the stock almost hit $25 a share. Again, originally brought to you on this channel at like $2 and change. But let's get into the news here. Let's see what's been going on for about the last 6 weeks. We spoke about the mixed shelf. You can see now that you're seeing more and more articles about the company now, right? And this is what we spoke about when we first started looking at the stock. When no one knows about it, when it's flying underneath the radar, when it's not trending, but you see growth, that is, in my opinion, when you accumulate shares and when you build a position. because once it breaks up and out and all of a sudden the stock's at 13, the stock's at 16, that's when these articles come out saying, oh, is it still a buy? Or, oh, it's up huge this year, but it's down today. Are you buying it at a discount now? Right? So they try to kind of funnel more volume coming in after the breakout already happened, which of course in turn fuels the stock to go up even more. But we know what we know. And that's why, when I see these headlines and these articles come out now after the stock already ran, I just have to sit here and laugh. But you can see about a week ago here, this was the collaboration I was speaking about. SoundHound shares rise after collaboration with Rekor on emergency vehicle technology. Shares rose 12%, said it will combine its vehicle recognition software with the company's voice and conversational AI to enhance emergency vehicle technology. Rekor said its collaboration with SoundHound will deliver hands-free functionality for automatic license plate recognition and other critical vehicle systems to improve safety, situational awareness, and operational efficiency for law enforcers and first responders. The collaboration's initial focus will be on police vehicles, of course, with plans to expand the audio-visual AI tech to fire trucks, ambulances, and other emergency vehicles. So not only do we have a good collaboration in place, where now we're going to incorporate this hands-free voice AI into police vehicles, but also we're going to, as you see, roll into all of the other sectors as well, fire, ambulance. So that obviously is good news. That happened about a week ago. See why SoundHound AI setback could be a buying opportunity, right? See what I mean? So now every time the stock goes down, someone's going to put out an article. Oh, is it a buy now because it pulled back? And again, we know they're all Johnny-come-latelys. Wall Street looks optimistic. Should you buy it? Is under $20 SoundHound the next NVIDIA and a buy? Look, see all the attention? See how they're speaking about it now? We're reading, attracting attention. SoundHound AI maintained market perform by Northland Capital. Price target raised to 8 from 6. Again, if we break down, that trend line is right about 8. So I don't blame them for having a lower price target, especially since the stock just broke up and out from, 6.5, 7 up to $25 a share. So that $8 understandable. But again, the problem is, in my opinion, that's going to be short-lived, right? If people are worried, let's just say over the next 30 to 45 days about the tech and the AI coming out of China. So let's say all of our tech stocks, like our SMCIs, our NVIDIAs, right? Let's just say they remain kind of quiet or flat for the next month or two. Then yeah, basically on this news, in the technicals, if we break the support trend line with the recent news of the mixed shelf being offered, then yeah, I can appreciate the fact that the stock could slowly step down and get back to 10, 8 and change, right? Very understandable. But then, in my opinion, it will probably bounce, and that'll be viewed as a big discount and a potential quote-unquote buying opportunity. And then it'll bounce more than likely, and it'll climb back up to this fib of 12 and then regain into the teens. You understand? In my opinion, anyway. So $8, I understand the mark they're looking for, but again, that's probably going to be more of a shorter-term trade potentially over the next month or two. And then you can see, look, we can pull back all the way there, and look at the bottom of the screen. We're looking at February 25th. So over the next 4 weeks, the next month, we can literally step down and then bounce, start to regain that value. And then look, you can see earnings are due out, right? So we're going to potentially run up into earnings. You understand what I'm saying? So you might have a little dip here over the next couple of weeks, but then in theory, it really should bounce and start gaining momentum going into these earnings. Again, earnings slated right now looking like around March 11th, which is, yeah, it's about 6 weeks from now. We're expecting a loss of 10 cents a share on that bumped up revenue now of 33.73 million. And again, we know the company's operating at a loss. So that's why I always said, in my opinion, with these up and coming stocks, you really kind of want to focus more on the actual deals being signed and the revenue coming in and showing that the company is generating more business than even Wall Street expected, right? Because we know the more money you bring in, the more efficient you can make your business and the more you can adjust those losses. So even if the losses might be in line or slightly wider than Wall Street expects, as long as the revenue, in my opinion, is outpacing these estimates more times than not, then technically, in theory, the company should eventually have enough to spill over into those red columns and slowly pull them into the black. But that's the way I'm looking at it. I think it's more about the revenue. But we can see here back on January 13th, the day before Northland Capital put their $8 price target, you can see H.C. Wainwright, look at this, maintained with a $26 a share price target. Now that is a price target. And that was what, on the 13th? So yeah, I mean, I have to respect it because we saw the breakout again up to almost 25, and then you can see on this day the stock pulled back to roughly 50% of that value. But then H.C. Wainwright comes out and says, no, this is $25, this is $26 stock. So big respect to H.C. Wainwright. Of course, I agree with that. And I know some people might say, well, you're all about the numbers. They're bringing in whatever, 100 million and change. You think they're worth 7 billion, 10 billion? And honestly, as I said, the way we squeeze these stocks and pump these random zombie stocks to these insane valuations for a company that is actually providing a good service that a lot of these companies have demand for, yeah, I think we could easily say, 7 billion, 8 billion, 10 billion, yeah, for sure. But again, technically in the numbers, it could be viewed as overvalued. So you have to keep an eye on these key levels and see if it breaks, because you might be able to, instead of adding today, you might be able to add more at around 10, or maybe at, like the low 9s or something. So that's just something to keep in mind. But can SoundHound AI stock hit $26 in 2025? See what I mean? The way that everyone's just pumping the stock now. Can Sound Strong Portfolio keep the stock's momentum intact in 2025? SoundHound AI unveils a new way to order takeout food. What is this? Unveiled its latest technology at the CES conference in Vegas. This was about 3 weeks ago. SoundHound announced an in-vehicle voice commerce platform. This tech allows for people to conversationally order takeout food from participating restaurants directly through their car and pay for it. The company has not yet announced which restaurants or car manufacturers they are working with on this. Quote, what we're introducing here at CES is a seamless way to order your favorite takeout on the go using natural speech, completely hands-free from the vehicle. And what begins here with food and restaurants will ultimately open up a whole new commercial ecosystem for vehicle and device manufacturers everywhere. Notice how they say that, for vehicle and device manufacturers everywhere. What did I tell you? I told you that everything around us now has a chip in it. Everything's a computer, basically, for the most part. So if they're showing you that their voice AI software, increases efficiency and is able to recognize natural speech, as they put it, right? As we said, they started to roll it out in healthcare. We're using it in fast food drive-thrus. Now you can see we're using it in automobiles. They're going to roll it out with the freaking police cars and whatnot. And device manufacturers everywhere. And this is what I mean. That, again, my original point, I said this, a year ago when we first looked at the stock. I said, in my opinion, we may get to a point to where this software is literally incorporated into almost every device and every appliance in and outside our homes and our businesses. And soon we might just be speaking naturally to our computer, our vehicle, our refrigerator, our stove, the toaster, right? Everything across the board. And that's why, again, that the way they worded it is the way I personally see the growth of this business over the years, which is why I always remain bullish on SoundHound AI. SoundHound stock had a standout year, soaring 830%. Yes, we know. Thank you. Investors have been excited about the future of voice technology software powered by AI, which is SoundHound's bread and butter. The company has deployed its voice AI solutions in over 10,000 restaurant locations. Customers can order food. Yep. SoundHound was one of the many companies to announce new tech. Chip giant NVIDIA unveiled new gaming graphics cards. Aurora Innovation revealed a partnership with NVIDIA to deploy driverless trucks. Dell Technology announced a new AI personal computer portfolio. We know that the AI sector is probably going to remain strong and boom. We recently got news about Trump looking to invest $500 billion into AI. I know people were kind of focused on, Oracle. But in general, again, that shows the value of the service, right? That's what I like to see. Okay, we're reading. AI powers Lucid. What is this? SoundHound, January 2nd. SoundHound said Thursday it partnered with Lucid Group. Again, that's EV stock, Lucid, to develop a voice assistant for Lucid's electric vehicles. The new hands-free Lucid Assistant, which can deliver responses from real-time information, domains, and large language models, is now live and available to Lucid Air owners, according to SoundHound. SoundHound said it will demonstrate the Lucid Assistant platform at the CES. And there you go. This is what I mean. Just another one, another company on the list. Conversational AI. Carved out a distinctive niche. SoundHound is building solutions tailored for enterprises. Interesting. What sets SoundHound apart? It's a first mover with disruptive potential. Okay. Let me see here. We're reading. Right. See the way whoever wrote this, breaks down how you can, again, naturally speak, and you can say, imagine asking, show me Italian restaurants near the Space Needle that are open past 9 p.m., have parking, and allow pets, and receiving an instant, precise answer. It's the level of speed and precision that sets SoundHound apart from its competitors. And this is, again, going back to one of the original things that I said in the SoundHound videos, is the fact that once they continue to roll out this software and they showcase it, and these companies see how accurate it is, how efficient it is for them, the business, the employees, it's only going to be a matter of time before more and more people tap them and sign on and look to collab and do partnerships and sign contracts. And that is literally what you're seeing before your eyes here. Okay, we're talking about Apple and Google. SoundHound years of R&D and expertise have built a robust system capable of handling nuanced commands seamlessly. For voice-activated car controls to dynamic ordering systems, its technology is tailored to practical, real-world tasks. Users consistently find it faster and more reliable for precise, layered queries compared to general-purpose systems offered by big tech. Perhaps the most striking difference is the business model. While big tech builds voice assistants to reinforce their ecosystems, often limiting customization, SoundHound offers white label solutions. This approach allows businesses to fully control branding, user data, and voice assistant functionality, a crucial differentiator for enterprises wary of sharing sensitive information. So SoundHound really sounds like they're covering all bases here. SoundHound's tech and patents create substantial barriers to entry that many competitors simply cannot replicate. Beautiful. Right? People all of a sudden now we're talking about the moat, apparently. That's the big trending term now. SoundHound's AI models, including its foundational Polaris engine, were trained on billions of conversations and over 1 million hours of audio. This sheer volume of data spans dozens of languages, enabling the system to handle everything from casual queries to highly domain-specific commands. Supporting over 25 languages. Yep, that'll probably help out international business. Been refining it for over a decade. Gives it an edge in international markets, along with over 155 granted patents and 115 more pending. Company has built a protective wall around its innovations in speech recognition, natural language processing, and conversational monetization. That's why, again, we spoke about the CEO mentioning that in the past, years ago, the company was approached several times. That's why also I was so adamant about it and was kind of consistently repeating that phrase of, in my opinion, this is where you build a position and accumulate shares. And we're seeing value from other companies. And again, the company supposedly was approached in the past, which is why I said, if they really do have that value, you might see sometime soon a large tech company, whether it's an investor already like an Nvidia, or it could be one of the other big techs like they mentioned, like Amazon or somebody, you might see an approach to SoundHound AI on a buyout. I'm talking about. So definitely a nice feather in the cap there with SoundHound. So it really looks like there's, again, nothing's guaranteed. Anything can happen. Company could go out of business. Stock could go to zero. Please understand the risks involved. But in my opinion, based on what I'm seeing, this company is absolutely, unequivocally on a great path here. SoundHound's competitive edge is its ability to provide customizability and data privacy. Unlike big tech, which uses voice assistants to lock users into their ecosystem, SoundHound offers... Yeah, we read that already. Collaborating with renowned brands. Now, this is quite an article. Work in the automotive sector, right? Hyundai, Mercedes-Benz. And of course, Lucid we heard about. Hospitality industry, smart ordering. And of course, we had the Amelia acquisition as well. In addition to adding multiple high-profile customers, SoundHound has partnered with NVIDIA to enhance in-vehicle voice assistance. We spoke about that as well. You can now speak to this in-car voice assistant, and you can do so with or without network connectivity now. So I think it's pretty big. With NVIDIA's Drive platform facilitating advanced in-vehicle voice assistance capable of operating without cloud connectivity. This advancement allows drivers to access information directly from the car manual and other data sources using natural speech, enhancing the in-car experience. And we saw the other example, right? Like they mentioned before, you know, natural speech. Oh, show me Italian restaurants near the Space Needle. And we looked at that other article a while back, remember, where they were... what was it, like by the baseball field or something, right? And they were looking for, you were able to like buy tickets or something through the voice assistant. I don't remember specifically, right? Don't quote me, but again, you guys can go back, you can check out that video. But basically the point is we're consistently getting these updates, right? Global voice and speech recognition market. Look at this from 2018. Again, we're here, but just look at the growth, right? Because it streamlines efficiency. And we know about, you know, like if you have an issue and you deal with these call centers or whatever. That's why with every business, that's what I'm saying, with almost every business in every sector across the board, practically everyone, SoundHound could probably make an argument for almost every business under the sun to incorporate its voice AI. Increase productivity, increase efficiency, and whoever, you know, 1, 8, 1,000 employees were doing that manually, now they're freed up, right? So you could either move them somewhere else to do a different task, or unfortunately you can cut them loose, but either way, it's going to benefit the business's bottom line. So that's why, you know, if this is the trajectory that we're on, then yes, even though it recently pumped here, going into here, you can see that the growth and the demand should in theory still be there, and we may see many, many bigger things to come. But yeah, I didn't want to read this entire breakdown. I just wanted to go back again. It was the middle of December. Insider sold shares. Not an issue in my opinion. Cover tax obligation. Again, stock just ran up whatever 1,200% here from those lows to those highs. So again, you really can't bash people for liquidating some shares, but again, it says it was for tax purposes. December 23rd, maintain a buy at H.C. Wainwright, $8 to $26 a share. We saw that. Look, now all of a sudden there's a Wall Street bet stock. See what I mean? The way they just, you know, throw their name on everything, it makes me laugh. It's not a Wall Street bet stock. This is a stocks by the number stock. I get the credit. Not Reddit, not Wall Street Bets. They're Johnny-come-latelys. They spoke about it here. They spoke about it here. We spoke about it, you know, here. Here, here, here. here, 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 here. Now everyone's talking about it here, which is exactly what I said was going to happen. Ignore the noise. Insider selling, executive sell shares. I believe it was December 13th was the last SOUN video, so I'm just backtracking here. Is it worth investing based on Wall Street's bullish views? Look. See? SoundHound stock, it's up over 700% this year. Analysts say it has more room to run. And that came out, what was it? The 16th? Yeah, so technically it went from 20 to almost 25, and then it dropped back down. Now we have an offering, right? So that's why, again, you have to be very careful when a stock breaks up and out and you missed it and you just try to jump in and ride the wave, because sometimes you're getting in near the end. So if that is a strategy of yours, I appreciate the fact you're like waiting for that stable breakout and that kind of quote unquote confirmed move. But again, we know that we pump them quick and then we drop them even quicker, right? Like we say, stocks go up like escalators and down like elevators. So if that's the way you're playing it, that's fine. But if you get in and then you catch another pop and another leg higher, all of a sudden you're up a quick 15, 20%, you might have to be in and out, because you have to understand you were already late to the party. So you might have to secure quick profits and then keep an eye on it and try to wait for a sell-off and then potentially reposition and catch that next wave higher. Work smarter, not harder. SoundHound AI gains momentum with NVIDIA collaboration. Wedbush raises price target. Thanks to its innovative voice AI products, close relationship with NVIDIA, Wedbush boosted its price objective to $22 from $10 for SoundHound AI, maintaining its outperform. The firm highlighted SoundHound AI's approach and stance. Change SoundHound's advanced speech generative AI technology, claims Wedbush. This method disables cloud connection, therefore improving the speed and efficiency of programs. At CES, SoundHound will introduce its voice. Yes, we even read about that. SoundHound had been driven forward by wise financial management and increasing income. Company's aggressive M&A, mergers and acquisitions approach, which includes purchases of Amelia, Sync3, yep, we spoke about this, extended its restaurants and automotive offerings. These steps equip the company for the expansion in corporate AI spending, according to the analyst note. Apart from its strategic initiative, SoundHound is introducing goods with an entrepreneurial emphasis in its range. Retailers and automakers debuted conversational systems and next-generation AI voice assistants, particularly in edge applications. These projects align with trends in AI. Wedbush still optimistic even if SoundHound's substantial valuation is under strain. Its prospective income growth rate of 74%, however, compared to the industry norm of 5.6%, points to it maybe upsetting the speech artificial intelligence market. By using its NVIDIA partnership and business reach, SoundHound might expand noticeably by 2025 and beyond. I agree. And I agreed the whole time, right? But the problem is, again, I'm not trying to bash you guys, but the problem is, like, it'll break out here, and then when it's up here at 19.5, I'll see comments like, oh, I missed it. Is it a buy now? Like, listen. In general, again, long term, yes, I still like it. And I do think one day the stock will be $40, $50, $80. I truly do believe that. However, again, you missed the run. And there was a reason why I was consistently updating on the stock down here at these low levels. Then it breaks up. It's up over 1,000%. You're asking if you should get in, right? So in general, again, in my opinion, yeah, I think it's a great long-term grower. If you got in here and now you're down, with all due respect, not to rub salt in the wound, that's not my problem. That's your problem. And listen, it could have been whether you didn't trust people making videos about it, or you just didn't know about it and then you found out when it was $19. Believe me, I understand. I've been there before. But as you see, what goes up, they say what goes up must come down. It doesn't always happen, but again, if you see a breakout like that, if you're late to the party, just like we spoke about with those aviation stocks recently, right? If it doesn't make sense in the numbers, it looks a little overextended, you're late to the party, hang out, remain patient, take what the market gives you, right? Don't force trades, don't force investments. And now you can see, look, now you start building the position in the low teens. If it bounces up, great. If it breaks and drops to 9, that's great too, because it could give you an opportunity to add more shares and lower your cost. Carrying solid AI-driven momentum into 25, Wedbush. Hale's bold moves, yep, okay, Wedbush again. Outperformed by Wedbush. Yeah, this was basically where we did the last update. And I just want to double check. I'm reading. Yeah, people are looking at the growth and the orders coming in, and they're looking at the year-over-year revenue growth from where the stock came from, where they are now, where they're potentially going over the next year or two. That's probably why everyone, for the most part, is pretty bullish on SoundHound. SoundHound keeps a strong balance sheet, debt-to-equity ratio, 13%. Despite operational losses linked to R&D. Remember, the company technically is only losing, what they say for next quarter? They're looking to post like a loss of 10 cents a share. First of all, I mean, that's not that much. You know, we've looked at, again, just off the top of my head, something like Luminar Technologies, LAZR. We looked at a lot of other stocks that are operating at losses or taking in a lot of bleeding that people are still, pumped about. They still see value in. So a company like this that's still really only bringing in 30 million in change for a quarter, you and I both know that's not a lot of revenue. And we're just operating at a slight loss, in my opinion. So if this revenue keeps growing, then chances are, we get up to 60 million, 80 million, 100 million. I would be a betting man personally that most of those margins and fundamentals start moving from the red to the black pretty soon, if revenue comes in according to plan. Quick developments make SOUN stock the focus for investors. Yeah. Yep. So that's all the news on SOUN. We looked at the support trend line, and I wanted to do a quick video, but again, I wanted to just scroll through those news articles together over the last 6 weeks and just double check some of those headlines together. We can also see that even though we bounced off of that support trend line, we did technically just break below the 50-day moving average. And you can see that the bottom Bollinger Band here on the daily is just over $10 a share. And we were looking at the other key level, remember? Right before we spiked up, right here, right? So we're looking at about, maybe like 10.20, kind of the low 10s, right? Near the bottom Bollinger Band. So we might see a slow drop down to about 10, and then we might see a bounce, and again, gain some momentum potentially going into earnings. But our other trend lines were down at about 8, or just below 8, and you can see the 200-day is coming up now at 722. Look at this. Back in August, not on the screen. Sub $4. Now your 200-day, not your 50-day, your 200-day, which moves slower, is now up to almost 7.25. From the same time frame, your 50-day moving average went from about, looks like 475. Now it's up to 1432. And I said years ago, basically, when I started the channel, these are the types of slow, steady moves you want to see increasing there with the moving average, potentially making new support and resistance levels as well. But MACD crossed to the downside basically when the ball dropped, and you can see we've been trending down and down. We have the offering, so that's why we may continue to drop a little bit. You can see the RSI sitting at 42 1/3. We technically didn't drop down to that 30 benchmark, so we can continue to keep bleeding, especially off of this $250 million offering. And we could continue to drop down to that 30 and then bounce, because it does look like the MACD almost wanted to come back and curl back up. And then we got the China news, and now today we have the offering news. So we had to drop down. We couldn't retest and potentially cross. So we have to cool down for a little bit, and then I'm expecting a potential curl and a cross back up and gaining momentum, over the next several weeks going into those earnings. But keep an eye on that support trend line because we could see a drop down to that 10 level, in my opinion. Here on the weekly, we can see RSI was overextended, right? We topped out, we got trending, and then we had, people taking profits. We brought the stock back down to earth. RSI on the longer weekly time frame sitting again at 55 and a quarter. Look at the mid-Bollinger Band, 1109, right? So that's why I'm saying we can pull down to the low double digits, the 11s, the 10s, maybe even slightly break into the single digits, and then potentially find our footing and start to climb up. Look at the 50-day moving average here, established essentially the middle of 23 at about $3 a share, curls down to about 2.5 and is now up to almost 7.5. Absolutely phenomenal. You also see the MACD dropping straight down, about to meet up, right? So you can see, even though it looks like a small little gap right there between the lines, that is realistically like a week or two's worth of time to potentially come down to touch. And we'll have to wait and see if we sell off to a key level and then bounce, and we come down and touch and then bounce, or if markets remain volatile and we may actually see a cross to the downside on the weekly MACD, which would technically push the stock down here to the 7s levels that we were looking at. So a couple of things for you to keep an eye on. But again, overall, I still like it. And, if you miss this one, is it technically a little high here in the numbers? Yeah, of course. The stock was sitting at $2-3 and change, and even after the sell-off, it's up here at 13, right? So it's still up several hundred%. But also at the same time, like we said, if you miss the position, but you have consistent income coming in, then if you'd like, you can start to add to the position. If we drop down here, again, to the low double digits, add to the position, average down, because even if it drops all the way back down to 5 or something like where it started, I know it would be rough, but personally, if I was a long-term shareholder, I wouldn't be too worried, and I would just look to continue to accumulate shares and build a position. Because remember, the stock price here is really only like the short-term breakout value. The collaborations, the partnerships we keep reading about, that's the long-term business growth that you're essentially investing into. So keep that in mind if you happen to buy one of these stocks and then they drop down a little bit. Make sure and double check that the business is growing nicely. And if it is, the stock may remain volatile because it just pumped, but over time, you should technically see stepping up and up and up, right? Let's check the pivot points real quick. I'll let you go. And you can see here we had a pivot point on the weekly, 1574. We just rejected. Next support, looking like about $7 and change. But again, we have to keep an eye on a lot of trend lines to see if we do break down. Looking at last month, you can see looks like about 12 and a quarter, which is basically right where the stock pulled back here about 2 weeks ago and then had the bounce. We met up with last month's support and the 50-day moving average, and that's where we had the bounce and then the run up to this pivot point here of about 1779. And then we got the China news yesterday, and then we got the offering news today, and you can see that we were looking at 11, we were looking at about 10 and a quarter key level, and you can see we have 2 pivot points right here last month and this month. Looks like about 1065, we'll call it, and for this month 1060. So you may actually see that 11ish, low 10ish range before you have a bounce. But we know anything can happen. But just a couple of key levels. And yeah, I saw the offering news today, and you can see the stock even starting to climb here, right? So it looks like it right now, in theory, right? Because again, nothing's guaranteed, but it looks like it wanted to hold and stay above every time it dropped. It tried to reclaim this trend line, and you can see this was what, about 90 minutes ago. You can see we got back above that support, and now we're climbing back up to almost the high of the day. So this might just be completely washed, and the stock might start heading up, because it technically did just drop from 25 down to 12.5, right? So it retraced 50% in value, climbed up a little bit, chunked essentially back down to where it was, And now you can see the stock fighting and bouncing off of this support trend line. Also remember, if it does happen to keep climbing and closes at the high of the day, we could potentially be forming a bullish hammer to where we've come down, retested the support trend line, bullish hammer, and now boom, we spike right back up to the moving average and potentially back to the fib of 2192. So I know I just threw a lot of things at you, but it's important to know a lot of these key levels, or some key levels that I'm personally watching anyway, on the not only just the downside, but on the upside as well. But I'm talking too much, so I'm going to end it there. Once again, this is Stocks by the Numbers. I want to thank you for stopping by. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please drop it down in the comments section. I'm usually pretty quick to reply. Thumbs up algorithm helps me get more eyes on the channel. And of course, subscribe to the channel. That is our handshake agreement. That is how you help me help you. But of course, more importantly, moving forward, like I always say, I understand that markets are rocky, they're volatile, and they are very uncertain. So I want to wish all of you success. I hope everyone makes a couple of dollars. Thank you for your time. Have a good day.